thank you very much for joining us today. I just wanted to say it is awesome for you to be here, and we've got an awesome session for today. So today we're going to talk about the sneak. If you didn't get a chance to see it, we are going to play it straight away here in just a moment. And we'll go in depth into kind of where the sneak came from, where we got the ideas. We'll talk to the team the engineering team we worked with to bring it to life, and do some demos and show a little bit more in depth about what the technology can do. Hopefully that will be a pretty darn groovy session. So just before we get started, Adobe Sneaks, for anyone who's not familiar, this is Adobe's opportunity to share what we're thinking about and what we're working on within our research teams. And it allows us to get feedback on pretty much things that we think customers would like. And when we produce these sneaks and do this event, we do it once for Adobe Summit and once for Adobe Max. The goal is to gauge interest from our customers and really see where we should be spending our energy on building new solutions. Okay, so there, let me turn off my name. Let me jump into the sneak video, and we'll get into that, and then we'll introduce the guests that we have, then we'll kick it off. Okay, I actually don't think I need to be here for this one, but I'm gonna go over here and play the video.
Build apps starting with the user experience. For this sneak, we're using Project Firefly, currently in beta. It allows our customers to build custom apps using Adobe and third-party APIs. Here are my company's custom apps. We have workflow apps, custom dashboards, and marketing tools that help us reach our customers. And while Firefly makes building apps easier, developers still spend a lot of time coding the perfect UI. What if we could radically change this process? Project Livewired works with Adobe XD to not only build a user experience, but also connect that design to functioning code. Let me show you how. Here's an app I've been working on called Content Velocity. It combines capabilities of Adobe Workfront, Adobe Stock, and others to help my company create marketing content faster. I've created a header, and now I'm beginning on the request form. Firefly uses React Spectrum, Adobe's design system, and React Spectrum components allow me to quickly design this UI. On the left, I have a menu of components like drop-down menus, buttons, etc., and even some I've created. So here are a few examples. Under Deliverables, marketers select the types of content they need. Now, depending on how busy the design team is, it may take days or weeks. So I've created a lead time indicator to help my users know how long the request may take. And the developer's written code to pull this information from Adobe Workfront API. Next, I'm going to add an image gallery to help requesters show what types of images they would prefer. And just add the image gallery here. And again, the developer has written code using the Adobe Stock API to make this gallery function. There, it's coming together. Let's see how the developer wires these designs to their code. Okay, inside Livewired, I'm using the same design artifact we created in Adobe XD. Now to bring this to life, I'm going to start with a data source provider. And I'm going to connect this to my Workfront API. And then I need to take the component the designer built and wrap it inside the data provider. Okay, and the last step is to bind this form so that it can listen and react to the other elements. Okay, I can't believe how much easier this is to the old process of taking designs and then spending days and like 3,000 lines of code to create the user experience. Okay, next, let's wire up the image gallery. So again, I'm going to start with a data source provider. And one of Different thing I have to do here is for the assets that are coming in, I need to bring out an asset card template so it knows where to lay those out on the canvas. And I can't forget to change the data source provider to Adobe Stock. And then I'm going to use this keywords section to essentially drive the image gallery. So what I'm going to do here is select this and go to domino form and connect that to my code as well. And just like that, we are wired for visuals. So let's go live in Adobe XD. While XD has tools to generate sample data for designers, until now you could never see how the app functions inside Adobe XD. So let's check this out. We're going to add a couple of variables here, a couple of deliverables rather. We've got email. We're going to click this. There you go. You see the checkbox is working there. We're going to do it for same thing for social. And we're going to click on lead time. And we are going to update. And there you go. It works. So we're in a design application and we're actually seeing functioning code and interaction that you don't normally see in an app like this. Well, now the team can collaborate on how the app functions, in addition to look and feel, but all without waiting for a test app. So this is a huge time saver. So let's see what kind of images we get. Let me put in some text here. And we'll go over and update the image gallery. There we go. So right now, LiveWired is fetching images using the developer's code and arranging them on the canvas based on the designer's card template. And there we go. We should start creating some content using these as inspiration. Designers and developers can work on the same project using their preferred tool to collaborate in real time. So here's a really super simple, quick example. I'm going to go over here to Deliverables, and I think we should probably change that to something. We can call that channels. And we're going to click on it again and click update. All right, now let's check out the final app. So I'm going to go back into Adobe Experience Cloud. We're going to go back to the home page, go back into Firefly apps, and there we go. We have a brand new application, Content Velocity. And now this should function just like it did in Adobe XD. So I'm clicking these checkboxes. You can see the lead time is growing. And we're going to go back here to the image gallery functions. So the app works just the way that we had seen it in Adobe XD. Building custom apps just got way easier thanks to LiveWired and Project Firefly. This cross-cloud design process helps customers extend and integrate their investment in Adobe Experience Cloud.
Nice work, Ron and team. Connecting.
All right. So that was our LiveWired sneak, and we had a ton of fun putting that together. But it would not have been possible without our engineering partners here at Adobe. And I want to introduce first Alex and as well as Dave to talk a little bit about kind of how we did this and going to go a little bit deeper into the technology. So let me go over here and hey Alex, how's it going, man?
Hello, how are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I'm going to bring Dave up here too, just for fun. There we go. Hey Dave. So Dave and I are on the Project Firefly Adobe I/O team, and we had worked with Alex on basically what you saw pretty much without the XD part of it. The XD part of it was new. And we had seen a sneak at Adobe Max that Alex did last fall, and it was showing the XD piece of it. It didn't show the live wired, the web client that we did, the how it wired up, but it just focused on XD. And actually for this session, we're not going to focus on XD. We're really going to show the web client, and really you could do everything just in the web client. And it's pretty fantastic. So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Dave, for joining me. Dave, I guess if you want to go first and chat a little bit about kind of what interested us in this new technology and why we saw the need.
Yeah, so I will get right into that. So, so one of the things we try to do here with Project Firefly, right, is create either an extension to our products or to tie two products together, right? So we're always looking for ways to improve that process and make it quicker, make it easier for the developers, and allow our customers to make whatever, creative new thing they need to make for their enterprise as quickly and easily as possible. And some of the feedback we were getting was that, it'd be nice to, building a UI is complex. It takes a lot of work. It'd be easier. It'd be nice if it was easier, right? So yeah, and then also the process between even if it's not, even in the Firefly case, making it easier is great, but also that whole space is ripe with efficiency issues, in my opinion. The designer to developer relationship can be time consuming, and it can also be contentious at times. I've been in situations where it gets quite heated in the discussion between the developer and the designer. And we're always running into problems during the development cycle where the designer will do something and then you're not using real data, right? Or you're not seeing the live interaction with the system, and you're making assumptions about the types of, the length of data that somebody put in the system, or the way the images are going to be, right? And then when you get to the development cycle, they're starting to work on the process, and they find out, for example, nobody's ever going to have a title over 20 characters. We'll just make the box this big, right? And then you get to the real data and you find out everyone has used paragraphs to describe something, right? And now you have to go back, you have to stop the development, you have to slow down the engineering team, you got to come back to the table and agree on what to do. Sometimes these design decisions will require a lot of change to be able to accommodate the real data at that time, right? And one of the things I really liked about the idea of using this kind of a low code type solution, not completely low code, because the way we've done it is not prescriptive, and there's still a lot of code involved. If you'd like to have your own system, you can implement your own system. It's a very open way of doing it, the way that we're going to be approaching it. But the thing is that it really will allow the designer to connect to the end system and see that issue before, and keep the development gears rolling, right? We don't have to stop everything we're doing, wait for a design decision to go back and make some alterations. The designer, as he's doing the app, should be able to find some of those issues and then change them quickly, which would be great. I'm real excited about this space. I'm real excited about, if we can make some progress and get enough interest in this space, being able to pursue this and, bring some easier solutions. It's not a new problem that we're talking about here. There's been many attempts at solutions in this space. Some are black boxes where you can't mess with the code, or when you open up the black box, you have nightmares for like years, right? Some of the attempts in the past have been pretty messy, but this approach is very clean. It's very flexible, and I like it. And hopefully we can see it move forward.
Right on. Thanks, Dave. So let me bring up Alex here. So Alex, I think the first time that we had seen, it's not actually the first time we had seen your technology, because I think we've been collaborating with you for a long time. But when we saw the XD sneak at Max in sync, that was when we were like, wow, that would be pretty amazing. Using Adobe XD as kind of the surface for collaborating between designers and developers, and that kind of started this idea of, hey, maybe we have this really easy kind of drag and drop where you're just dragging and dropping Spectrum components onto a canvas, and so then we pursued that. But you want to talk a little bit about kind of
Sure.
where this whole thing came from? And
Sure. So as you were saying, we've been trying to research this idea of like how can we improve an extensibility system and extensibility of applications in general, such that they can be close to how the developers build their apps. They can allow developers to build apps how they want, and they are still in control of the code that they're writing, but still allow stakeholders such as designers to contribute to the parts that they should be responsible for in an application. And basically, when we started this research with Firefly, we saw an opportunity to show this idea at Sneaks at Max, that you could have the developer working in the tools that they like to be able to collaborate on real live applications. And if you guys want to check out that sneak, you can find it on labs.adobe.com, and you can see that there are similarities because we've built upon that sneak for the Livewired sneak. And I think this is the most important thing, and Dave also mentioned it, is an extensibility solution at the end of the day cannot just go in and create an application like a black box, because then where would you get? You would get to like developers wouldn't be able to control much there. And where we want to end up with this solution is we want to basically bring the two worlds together such that they can truly collaborate, as I've said, on the areas that they are responsible for. So designers should be responsible for interactions, for the way applications look, for all the visuals at the end of the day. And developers should be responsible for the implementation of those interactions and for their performance and building great apps. And there shouldn't be that much back and forth when it comes to these things that are fairly easy to change. We're talking even about content sometimes, or assets, or spacings, or things like this. These are not things that developers, I think, are too excited to go in and change them. I don't think anyone is like, I have to change 2 pixels from 1 pixel, because it's the thing that designers should own. They are the ones controlling that, and even for designers, the whole back and forth is not optimal. They have to go and communicate a lot, and then they have to make sure that the implementation is good. So we're trying to circumvent somehow all of that process, and we're exploring this solution with the goal of trying to let every stakeholder control what they should control and keep their flexibility when it comes to what they're building.
Right on. That's very cool. So I think one of the things that you mentioned, flexibility of this solution, and then collaboration. And I think one of the key things that I thought was amazing is, when we started the sneak, the initial name was Synchronicity, and the idea was that instead of working asynchronously, which I think a lot of teams do between designers and developers, the designer will do something, they'll kind of throw it over the fence, and then the developer will work on it. This really offers the opportunity for teams to work in a new way, where they can actually make changes to a kind of live app, right? And then see what it looks like with real data. And Adobe XD has always had the ability to put in sample data, but this is kind of a new ball game, being able to connect it up to code. Yeah. So do you want to, I don't know, do we want to walk through and show a little bit of what the UI looks like in doing it inside of the web client, and go from there, and then we can kind of talk through it as we go.
Sure. So let me share my screen.
Okay.
So everything okay? You guys can see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. So what you're seeing here, this is the demo app that we've used for this sneak, and under the hood, it's a real working application that is built on top of Firefly. So it's generated by the Firefly API and CLI, and the code is written exactly as any developer would write it. When you write the application, you have a integration layer or an SDK. You can call it, where you need to connect your code to our system. So in the back of all of this functionality stays a server that connects basically XD and this application and stores all of the modifications that we are doing here, and then the application can take those changes and reflect them live using the code that the developer has written. So when you saw those Adobe stock integrations, those were real live Firefly actions connecting to live Adobe stock APIs and retrieving those things there. And in here, what you see, this is our web authoring environment, because the idea of this technology is that you should be able to take the things that you have and then author them in multiple environments. You saw XD was one of those environments, and now this web authoring environment that you also saw in the sneak is that that environment. And what you see here is basically we have a library of components. These components are connected to the code of that the developer wrote. So and is exposing those components in here. So this list is completely extensible, and anyone can decide what components go in there and what components don't. And on top of components, we have another concept of composition, where once you've composed something, you can save it as its own reusable entity and reuse it over and over again. And what I want to show you is how we've actually built this application.
And
Yeah.
just to add, I mean, that was what made this super compelling, and nice to use, is because these compositions were things that we had built, right? That we had put together, and then basically you can just drag and drop. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so these compositions were not necessarily written by the developer directly. These were composed using the components that were already available and then reused. So I'm going to go to an empty canvas here, which is like the start of what we did. And I'm just going to play around here with some layout components. So for those that are developers, you're going to be familiar with what I am doing here. So this is like, let me just make this one. This is a container which has some flex properties, and it's going to use the flexbox CSS to lay out things around. So I'm going to put the header for now. So I'm going to add one component here, and let's see. This one has to go to flex start. And now we're going to actually make this one stretch and make it columns. So we can have like the header here. Let's add it a height. And once we have that, we can go back to the composition that we've already made, which is the header, and we can drop it in. We can see that it doesn't stretch now, so let's fix that. So here, let's do stretch, and this one has to be column. And now you can see we have the header. Now this header has been built exactly as I've shown you, dragging, and you can see the structure here. So I have like my own containers here, and I have other layout, and I have components and so on. And once I've dragged this composition here, I can go and change whatever things I want here. So my latest. And all of this editor is built on top of React Spectrum. So we're trying to enforce as much as possible the design language. So when you see font size, font weights, and things like these are expressed in the variables that are exposed from the design system. So it's not a free form. So where we have these values, we try to enforce them from the design library. Now let's go ahead and add another element here. And we're going to add this creative brief. So we're going to go in here. And you can see already like a lot of UI has appeared on our canvas here. But all of these that you see here were built from a blank canvas and built with this authoring environment and then saved as compositions. So there was no developer involved in building this piece of UI as you see it composed here. The developer built the building blocks. Okay, now that we have that, let's see if the lead time works. So you see here we have two compositions, and this is interesting because we didn't know exactly how the demo is going to go. So we had multiple, let's say, variants of how the sneak should go. Being that it was time constrained, we tried different possibilities. If I'm going to pull in here the lead time indicator, now this lead time indicator is already bringing some layout in. You see the progress and so on. So if I'm going to go here, you see there's a data source provider. And actually here, I think we are still having a glitch where the selected property is not in there, but I think the workfront one is selected. Let's just double check this one. And now if we go on the form, so we have here a component which was written by a developer that knows how to connect to this action that we've selected there, the workfront action, because this one is a Firefly action that connects to the workfront services and brings out some data depending on the inputs that it gets. And we just used it here. And then we are going to connect this piece of UI with the form that we have here. So we've created this form, and the form component now knows to what data source to connect as well. So it's when you're going to select Workfront here, is actually going to see where other providers are, and that's how they connect here. So now if we go and we preview, this one should increase. And you see when I'm selecting, what happens under the hood is like the form gets the update, then knows to what data source to go. So it's going to go to the Workfront data source. It's going to tell the Workfront data source, hey, some actions here have updated. And then this data source is going to call the Firefly action and retrieve back the response. And that response is then interpreted by this lead time component. So that's how the whole back and forth between these two components works here. And now let's go and
yeah, and just to add, Alex, so that the lead time component was simply a spectrum meter, right? I mean, so basically we took the standard spectrum component, we modified it a little bit, and turned it into what we call a lead time indicator.
Yeah, so you see, it's this. I think it's called progress component on React Spectrum,
There you go.
and yeah, so we have here some minimum values and things like that of how you can change it, and this component itself is pretty generic on how it works with data. So we're connecting data without necessarily having to go through many development cycles. So the developer doesn't have to write too much code to connect the data with the UI. Let me add the gallery now. So if I go here and I'm going to add another container, we have another composition here, which I think it's called Creative Brief. So let's put the width to auto because there are some layout issues here. So we can 1 moment.
The live demo, ladies and gentlemen, live demo.
Yeah, when you put the layout here, it shouldn't be 100% here because it doesn't know how to do. So we will let it just scroll down. Okay. So hopefully we can get our content in here. Although I doubt it will not let us. Let's do 2 columns then. 1 moment. So select container, and then we go here row. And that went perfect. That's me. And this is the beauty of this thing. Like, look what happened here. So I messed something up. I don't know. I've probably misconfigured something. I just deleted it. I didn't lose anything. The code is still there. The code is running. I didn't actually break, unless this was like a live app that I just deleted, but it's not. So I'm just gonna go and put 2 columns here, redo the layout. So let's go with this one. Let's make it actually stretch here. And 1, 2. And this one's stretch. So you see we have 2 columns now, where let's make them occupy 1 like that. Perfect. And we can go and do creative brief. You didn't tell me that I omitted the header, but I think that's
Yeah, we
Oops.
got that. Sorry.
Hey, you forgot the header.
it's okay. We can always bring it back, and then we put the gallery here. Not this one. What did I put? It's called creative brief. Sorry, creative.
Image gallery.
That's actually true. Let's. I think it's this one here. Let's delete it. So let me also do this one like this, and it's
image gallery. There you go. There you go. Right
yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Okay, so this one here, and let's think. So this one is row. I will do it center here, like that. So now that we have this one here, let's see. This one does not have a data source provider, so I need to put a data source provider inside of it. And I have the data source provider here. I need to choose Adobe Stock. And then we will still need the template, but let's not do it now so we can see. We have another form here, and this form is the one that has this keywords in. So I'm going to tell this form to actually connect to Adobe Stock. And if I'm going to put here like dog now, there's the provider, the image gallery came up here. This is funny. So what just happened? You remembered when I put the image gallery in and you didn't see stuff happening here? This is because this is the component that was already connected to the Adobe Stock library by default, and ours are not. So we can even take it here and put it inside. So now we have the gallery in.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so that was. That when we were going through building the snake, you have a limited amount of time in which to present your idea, and we had made it super simple so you didn't have to do a lot. But then we wanted to kind of expand it a little bit and show more.
Yeah, so we had some components here that were configured and some were not configured, and
yeah.
I think from the demo I kind of forgot which was which.
And then our text box doesn't. I thought it was funny in the demo where we asked for keywords and we ended up with a query that would never return any results. What was it?
Yeah, I forgot. I forgot.
What was it? What was Dan's suggestion? Classy, elegant.
That was in the Dan Levy version. Yes, it was timeless. It was 3 words that returned nothing. And
yeah, there's like the image results were just not there for the particular query.
Exactly, and we hadn't built out the
no
results.
Yeah, there was this component here. So this is a very good example of that. So this component here was built for the demo. And we've built the features that we thought are needed for the demo. We didn't go all in and build like a production ready gallery. So we didn't have the empty state for that container because we thought, Adobe Stock will always return something. But for that
and the idea is to show the art of the possible and gather interest from customers, right? We're looking for people to tell us, yes, go this direction. Yes, we need this. We must have this, right? So, yeah, we're just trying to show the art of the possible, and that was a terrible query.
Yeah.
We tried so many queries, just not that particular one.
Exactly. So yeah, it just happened that we were not prepared for that use case. But I think the main point here, if there are developers watching us, is you're in control of building the component as good as you want. So for the demo, we didn't have this use case, but yeah, you could go ahead. If you want to build a very good component and put it out there, then you have that. And then once you've created this component which is extensible and accepts good extensibility points, you can put it out there and other people can use it, which might not know how to implement it or they don't want to implement it. So they can take advantage of a very well written.
Or it can be something specialized to your own particular business case or enterprise that you can integrate in here. Yeah.
So
and I like how this isn't code generation.
No, it's not. It's I would say.
Yeah.
Yes. I would name it code orchestration.
There you go. Generation. It could be generation if you wanted, because we're not being prescriptive here, but.
Yeah, it's up to the developers to choose how they want to expose and what they want to expose out for to be extended.
And I think that one of the key things for me is that this shows how you can build not just an app with the UI, but how you can build a gorgeous app with the UI. And that's I think where we want to get to with Project Firefly is giving developers and designers and people who are building these apps the tools to make an app that looks amazing, that looks like it was built by something, by tools that Adobe would provide. And yeah, it's very cool.
And it's up to you to customize it how you want for your particular use case for your customers.
Yeah.
I like the inclusivity of the design process. You touched on this earlier as well, Ron, but I found when we were going through this research that it opens up a whole new avenue for everybody to get together instead of waiting for that fence throw, right? That they throw it over the fence and the developer throws it back over the fence and says, this is going to take too long or too big, too complex. I love the idea of, especially in this during the pandemic when we were talking about this research, right? The ability to just come together in a working session and kind of go over it. And it was a very collaborative process where everybody could see the results and include the business customer as well, right? You don't need, not that you don't need a designer, but the business owner and the business user or the person with the actual problem can be a lot more hands-on in this process, which is great.
And I'm something that we didn't show, I think, although this again in the demo phase, it might be dangerous to do here, but anyways, why not? So
go into the danger zone. Let's do it.
Yeah. So basically, this UI, once you have it in a extensible manner and exposed in an extensible manner, you have the possibility to open almost any piece as long as components are written properly, let's say, and they don't break because they are not in a certain context, and you've guarded well against that, which you should do anyways. If you should write, like, let's say, modular extensible code, you can open them in isolation. So what you saw there is I took this piece of UI that we have here, and I've opened it here. So we took only that chunk, and we were able to only show this. So we can imagine in the future where people can work in isolation on some things that they own or they have permissions to work on and collaborate in this way, because they don't need to go over and like work on the whole app or have the whole app open. They can just go on a piece and
yeah, and I think a good example for this is deliverables, right? So right here we've got 6 deliverables. It might be that the team wants to further, subdivide the requests that they get, and they might add, a couple of more. So I don't know what they would be, but yeah, could have Instagram instead of social. Maybe they break them all out because they're different formats.
Yeah. And you can go ahead and save any of these pieces that you've created as a reusable composition, and then just keep it there in case you want to come back to it or switch between. So when it comes to this collaboration, you can see even if you have a tool that can achieve extensibility in this way, you can basically go ahead and switch variations back and forth, do tests, and even in that collaboration phase, prototype faster and more dynamic. I'm thinking.
So, so let's talk a little bit about. So this is the web client now. What it looks like when you've got the live app, right? So can we see?
Yeah. Let's see if something works here.
Yeah, and the way we have this wired up in the demo is live. We're not doing a publish step, so just to preface that we don't have publish in here since this is a research project at the moment.
Yeah, let's. There are 2 data sources here that I think are. You see, there's a data source provider and a data source provider. Let me just clear this for now, and
one too many.
Do it. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. So this one. So I'm. So we have here this one, and now keywords. Let's put down. Nothing should appear because this one is a data source that has no template. But if we go and we put the template in, yeah, there we go. So the results came back. So probably what was happening is the parent data source was the one that was connected to the form, because the form looks at the moment for a data source which is having the same connected data source. So it was not finding the child, it was finding the parent, and the parent didn't have a template. So, and if I'm gonna go back now to my app and put dog, I don't know how to write. Or cat. Did I refresh it? Because I need to refresh it after I
You
come
need to
back here.
refresh.
Come on. Well, I think it doesn't want
actually,
to.
is it pointing to the right content?
I think it is.
Playground.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
the same one.
it is. Well, and like Dave mentioned, I mean, this is
I mean,
not how we would
Yeah,
want
this is the line.
the publish to work, right? Because we're kind of circumventing the Firefly publish mechanism by.
Oh, yeah. So basically, what the template is not saved for some reason. Yeah, I think that's the problem. So it works as long as we are in this session here, but doesn't publish it properly.
Gotcha.
But this is the same live app there. So maybe again, it's a while since we've worked on this. But what you can see here is if I'm going to just change something here, this is the real app. If we're gonna go here, yeah, so it's the same one. And let's fix the layout.
There
I
you
think
go. Yeah.
this one is.
So any changes you make to the layout or to the text or anything is going to be reflected.
Yeah, exactly. And in the future, we're trying to expand on the layout options, so they're not that verbose. So people that are not too familiar with CSS can approach building layouts from scratch.
All right. This is super awesome because I think it will open up, if we can, get enough interest in this, it'll open up just a host of possibilities in creating really fantastic looking Firefly apps that are, quick and easy to build and are flexible.
And this is, I think, from other solutions that are doing extensibility out there, I think a very key point for our approach is Firefly, because Firefly is going to basically provide you those backend actions that do real life things. So you can connect them to real services, and when we're gonna nail this connection to be super smooth, you're gonna see a lot of value from the fact that you're gonna be able to build these extensible applications, but connected to those real live actions which are connected to the Adobe services, and you can take advantage of all of those cool services. And I think that's a very, very important key point there.
I think another great point is, so we were showing all this. It looks great. And as a developer, I'd be thinking to myself, oh, well, how complex is this? I just want to say, just to set the baseline, the stack that we're using for Firefly today is the same stack we'd be targeting for the Firefly or the integration between these two apps. We're not going to add a layer of complexity, or it's going to be very approachable. Being able to extend this, build your own components if you needed to do so, is going to be very approachable. At least if we get enough interest, it will be very approachable. And speaking to that, you can write us at iodev@adobe.com. And if you have a particular custom use case, or you think that this would be of high value to you, please let us know. And get in touch with us so we can gather that feedback and get you in the loop and take that under consideration and try to push this forward, right?
Absolutely, yeah. iodev@adobe.com would be the place to send those. And if anybody's got any questions, it's been pretty quiet. By all means, throw them up in comments, and we will answer those. So the XD piece we didn't show, but that's something that I think just adds another layer on top of convenience really is if the designer
A little more frosting on the cake.
yeah, I mean, if the designer's more comfortable using XD, then they can use the XD piece, and because there's a server that's synchronizing those two, design artifacts, that it keeps them all in sync. And but honestly, I think the web client is a perfect solution for every persona, every person that's going to use this, because
as an engineer, I don't know. I like XD. I think it's great, but I feel a lot more comfortable in the other tooling. Right? It's just more suited for me. Right?
Definitely. So that's even the point of it at the moment. I think it's since XD is more tailored towards the designers. Obviously, it's like a designer tool. So we're trying to position the web authoring tool like an environment for the other personas where they can have their workflows that are custom to them. So it's not just about developers. So because developers, let's say they're going to have a more developer focused experience. And we didn't show, but we can have like customizable experiences there based on different personas. So for example, a marketer doesn't necessarily have to go into the same authoring environment. He doesn't have to go into the same workflows of building an app. It can be a more simple workflow. A PM could go in its own personalized environment, and he doesn't have to like look at layouts, flexbox, and things like that. All he might want to do is just shuffle some things around, delete some things, put a big block under another one, and things like that. So we're looking at these kind of workflows to enable through the web authoring.
And how cool is that too, right? So you have a designer who, of course, is invested in whatever they're building, developer who's, invested in what they're building, but really the business user who has the actual problem, being able to get this in a space, since we have a tight design language, and with Firefly, we have a tight integration scope in a sense. Being able to putting the creative process back almost in the hands of the business user is great, right? Like they're the ones that are in touch with the customers day to day, and if they see or need to do a change, I mean, it's after you get the initial app done and everything, it's very coupled. It's very safe to allow them to get in there and actually make that change and get those changes out to their customers in real time, right?
And as long as the changes are not like they want to redo the app or something like that, they just want to like change small things, and they want to like move a button from left to the right, change some content and things like this. Anyone could do that. And from the authoring environment, you could even restrict them to only do that if you want. So,
but small changes have big value a lot of times, right? If you see you're getting data back from the field,
enormous value,
right?
Yeah.
Right. You're getting data back from the field, but you're missing something just a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not just that. If we look at the traditional development cycles, is not everybody builds with, let's say, a content system in the back and has a CMS where people can just go and change the texts. But any change that is not captured by, let's say, a CMS system needs to go through a full development cycle. So you need to go and build your app, deploy it, etc. So, and then you need to put stories somewhere, and people they have to check them. They have to go into a meeting and talk about it, and all of those things. So even if you cut these small interactions, I think it's a big win for everyone, just because it frees up time for the things that really matter to the personas that are involved along the way.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I have a question from Ruben. It says, not sure if he missed it, but how easy would it be to create new connectors? And I'm not sure what the connectors
to.
Yeah.
So if it's a connector to, let's say, a service, the process kind of looks like this. You have to basically write the connector if it's something new. If it's just, you have an endpoint that is already public and returns some data, our components, you can just point us to the endpoint. If it's not authenticated, then at the moment it works. If it's authenticated, then you have to manage your authentication through Firefly. That's another plus there, because Firefly can basically solve your authentication problems and manage those for you. And once you have your endpoint line,
at least within the Adobe world.
Yes, definitely.
Just to frame that authentication issue, we're not magically solving that across the world, right?
Definitely, and it's inside of the Adobe ecosystem. And as long as you do that and your service is done, it's up to you how you want to do it. You can write a Node.js script that does something and returns the data filtered or in any way. Once you have that, the data source provider can connect to your endpoint and then get the data, and that data can then be consumed in the UI. So it's a matter of, in my opinion, the developer's job here is just to develop the action, expose it properly, and then we're providing the tools through which the data can be connected to different parts of UI. But if someone doesn't like that, again, the system is not forcing anything. So it's not like you have to do it this way. We're showing you a way where you don't have to work too much, and this is the way that we're thinking this solution can be fixed. But you have the possibility, if you want, to connect your data manually to the parts of UI and build your own connector, your own connection mechanism. So and that's why
we're going to make it as simple as possible. We're gonna make it as simple as possible once it gets in Firefly.
It's a thing of
if you make it
allowing developers. Sorry, my internet is not. No, go please.
Go ahead.
Okay,
so
then I go.
We're gonna make it as simple as possible. If you develop an action, we're gonna express the action in such a way that it's gonna be consumable inside the UI, right? So it should be.
Firefly is a different story. Like Firefly actions might be very out of the box, so they might be even easier to connect. I was more implying to like a generic Node.js a script that you run somewhere on a server, or you want to consume that particular. So if you could connect, for example, to the Facebook API, return something from there, and build your custom UI on top of that. So if you go through Firefly, then the integration is going to be spot on. But if you have another service that is somewhere and your company needs to use that service and you can't go through Firefly for some reason and you want to do your own thing, then basically you could do this kind of loop. But again, the main point is we're trying to make this approach to be to not enforce anything and provide low-level APIs so that anyone can connect to whatever solution they have. So it's not like a one or nothing kind of approach.
Yeah, which is what aligns really well with Firefly, because that's certainly one of our design principles is to make it flexible, and we provide things out of the box for you to build integrations. But if there's like storage or something that you want to bring from some other system that you're more familiar with, you're more than welcome to do that. So very closely aligned design principle. All right. Well, we are getting close. I don't know.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Click subscribe to join our channel.
Yes, exactly.
I'm allowed to get notifications.
Click the bell. Yes, all of those things. Yeah. So absolutely, if you are watching this on replay, by all means, subscribe and join our future office hours. We do these every couple of weeks. And we've got the next one coming up here in 2 weeks. And actually the next session is, let me bring that up. So the next session is going to be on the 17th here in the Bay Area, 4 p.m. It's a special time because we've got a customer who is out in Melbourne, Australia, who's going to be joining us and going over how they have built a dashboard. And this was actually someone who's not a developer, so I think it'll be a great session to talk about. We'll talk about how they got interested and how they built it during our hackathon prior to Summit. So you can sign up for that here on the events page. And I also just want to mention, as always, if you need any support, if you've got any questions about anything regarding Firefly, this is the Adobe Experience League and our community there. We are pretty fast, so I would say that pretty much the same day and potentially even within a couple of hours, you'll get a response from one of our team members. You can see Stefan here is
I was going to say it's probably Stefan. He's number one.
Yes,
so he's
exactly.
probably the fastest, right?
Yeah, usually I would see Dewey up here, but no, it's good. Or you, Dave. I mean, you guys are all
I
super
compete.
active.
I try to get up there. I try to make Dr. Venture number one, but
Yeah,
Stefan's quicker than I am this week, I guess.
all good. Okay, so that is it for today's session. Thank you, Alex. Super
Thank you very much.
exciting to see this technology and see what it can do and be able to kind of show what we did behind the scenes to bring the sneak to life. And Dave, thanks for joining as well. Because without you guys, there wouldn't have been a sneak. It would have just been nothing. All right.
Thank you as well.
So again, we'll see everyone next week, or next week in 2 weeks, in the afternoon. Hopefully you can join us and have an awesome day. Thanks, guys.